guys, welcome to my third mukbang video. I'm getting the ball rolling over here. I'm so excited to introduce you guys to my dear friend Alan here. He has a podcast.
I do. Thank you very much, Janet. Yeah, so my name is Alan Kay. I host the ShiftEQ Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can also find me on Instagram at alankay.health. So pretty much what I do is I promote people to compete into natural bodybuilding and use whatever vices or emotional things that they're going through as a source of energy. Like, for example, divorces, breakups, losing your jobs, a lot of those life adversities. I pretty much talk about how to overcome them and make yourself a better version in lieu of it. So.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. I heard a few of your podcasts. It's great.
Thank you.
From the few that I heard, you speak so articulately, you know, and I'm really inspired by you, and I'm learning from you. So this is great. I'm really excited to have Alan on with me, and this is not a traditional mukbang video, because mukbangs are usually they're in front of the camera like eating noodles and lobsters and crazy food. But you know, I cooked last night and I offered to, you know, share some of my soup with you, but you end up bringing your own food.
Right.
What do you have there?
So, well, it's funny because I actually brought like my whole meal prep thing, which is just like chicken and rice, which is as bland as it gets, but it is what it is. But instead, I decided to actually go to Kava for two reasons. A, because I'm hungry and I'm craving kava, and two, because it's something that a lot of people can get, and in my opinion, it's attainable.
Good.
Let's
show them.
Yeah. So this is a lot of just like...
Yeah, get closer to the camera.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, that looks pretty fire, actually.
So got a bunch of vegetable in there, chicken, rice, and then I also had I brought my own sriracha, so I'm a huge fan of condiments.
Ooh, really?
So I brought my organic sriracha from
Organic?
Sprouts.
What?
Yeah.
I have a sriracha too that's from Yellowbird. It's organic too. It's really good.
Is that the one with the little yellow
bird?
cat? Yeah, that's just bomb as hell. That's just bomb diggity calm.
Well, I have some quinoa chicken soup that I made yesterday, and you know, soup the next day is really, really good. I made it with quinoa and vegetables, celery, carrots. I threw some bok choy in it. But I just want to connect and like share some inspiration and value really to the audience and get this ball rolling, really.
Yeah, and I want to start eating. I'm like, I'm hungry as well.
Well, let's pray over the food.
Oh, yes, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
I usually do the symbol to raise the vibration of the food.
Okay.
Thank you, God. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you to the people who made it, and just may it nourish our bodies. Amen. Yeah.
I always want to do this, but
like this?
Yeah, right.
You do the cross?
Yeah, and by the way,
you religious?
No. It's just a force of habit. You know what I mean? Yeah. And also, by the way, Janet, every time we've gone out to eat, she literally does pray over the food and manifests all that energy. So it's not just for show. That's what she always does, for sure.
Yeah,
so.
Just gotta be grateful, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh yeah, this is good. Yeah, soup next day is so bomb.
Oh.
Wow. So, I kind of want to touch on how we met, actually.
Okay.
Do you remember how we met?
I know that we had mutual friends in Vegas. But, I mean, well, the mutual friends we had were partying friends. And that we, I guess we just kind of had the same social circle and kind of ended up running into each other.
We did. We met through some mutual friends, and I just remember meeting you in the party scene, and we were always out at the nightclubs at Excess, and through the homies, we partied a few times together. And then we both happened to move to California.
Right.
I mean, I've been in California for a little over 4 years now. And when did you move to California? From Vegas?
I moved from Vegas in 2019. Moved to Utah. That didn't last very long. And yeah, so back at the end of 2019 is when I'm since I've been back here.
Okay.
So
I moved here. Yeah, I moved here at the end of 2018. So November of 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been here. Yeah, so a little over 4 years.
Right. And what I find the interesting part is how we both went through the emotional intelligence courses. Kind of both happened at about the same times in our lives. And how we've been able to, I guess, reconnect at a different level, you know, because there's different versions of ourselves that I feel like we've known each other for.
Yeah.
And I think what makes us still close as friends now is that we've experienced that same kind of growth from that moment that we had in Vegas, those years. Oh my! I can't believe that happened. Oh my God! Well, it's crazy. You're like, think about it. If you were to ask the 20 the Vegas version of ourselves, like, oh hey, 4 years from now, you guys are going to be doing eating in front of a camera, talking about health, and sober, and sober, 100%. It's like, all right, what happened? What universe? But here we are. You know.
Yeah, I don't drink as much anymore, and I don't think you do either, right?
No, it's hard to. It's. I hate to say it's hard to, but it's like I got shit to do. You know, like I feel like ever since I left Vegas, like I don't know if it's the energy of Vegas or whatever it is. I felt like in Vegas I could always just drink no matter what. I felt like I can always party, always drink. And it never felt like it ended because everybody else is. Right. But now that I'm back in reality per se, it's like, holy shit, hangovers hurt a lot, and I got shit to do the next day, and I got like whatever, and it's just yeah. How's that experience been from you? Like the whole partying, changing, drinking.
To be honest, I still love going to festivals, but I don't drink as much as I did before. Obviously, working in the nightlife industry and going out all the time. I think I was definitely filling a void. You know, I had a breakup of 7 years with my ex-boyfriend from Chicago, and then when I told myself, it's gonna be about me now, so I moved to Vegas. I just wanted to save money. Working in the nightlife industries, I was able to make a lot of money. It's a lot of cash. and I was able to save money. I saved a lot of money, and then I used a lot of that money and back full circle investing in myself. I ended up slowing down on the nightlife industry, and I took yoga trainings. I went to MITT, which is the Emotional Intelligence Program. You actually went to a different program. Was it Choice?
It was called Choice.
It was in Vegas. So very similar program. I think they have the same. You guys have the same trainers as we do, but overall, it's just different companies, different names, but same concept. And I got to tell you, I've grown so much since that program. It definitely taught me how to step into my power, become a better yoga teacher, and really elevating in such a high frequency that I just want to keep on growing and elevating, because the nightlife started getting draining. I'm ready to move into the best version of myself, I would say. And I'm here to support people and getting to the best version of themselves as well. And speaking of best versions of ourselves, how can we create value? I wanted to share your story on your competition, because you eat so healthy too. Like you eat like hardly any sugar, I would say, or like you do.
Yeah, I just had like 2 crumble cookies yesterday, by the way. Fucking zero regrets. Zero. Like no sugar. I'm like,
only when you compete then.
No, it all depends. All right, so I think too many people like put foods and categorize foods too much into like healthy, unhealthy, this, that, and the other. But it's like if you start getting into how foods work in your systems and what kind of like what is there to support, then it's a lot easier to eat intuitively. Like for example, so sugars, although it does go to your gut, although it does make you fat, you eat that in excess, right? Don't get me wrong, you eat anything in excess, you're going to be gaining weight. But like, let's say for me, like for example, sugars go into your glucose, which glucose is your carbs, your energy. So one of the things that I do by utilizing that is like, when I work out, one of the things I usually do when I work out is eat a Rice Krispie treat, right? Sugar, quick carbs, and everybody be like, oh, it's so sugar. Yes, but if you use that in the right way, it's actually very productive. Now, I'm not saying have like globs and globs of Skittles and devour that before eating. But what I'm saying is, if you have enough, you eat things in moderation, and you can utilize it for its benefit, then you can almost, eat. I hate to say just eat about anything, but you kind of can.
Yeah, but you're probably more calorie out than in. So you measure your food. I remember you telling me about your meal preps.
Okay, so yes, when you're going for a competition, you got to get specific down to like the macros, because when you go into a competition, you're building towards a very specific aesthetic, right? A specific dynamic. So I compete in a class which is called physique bodybuilding, and what you're judged on is like your lats to your hip ratio. And so what you start doing is you're developing a process in your body to burn off as much fat as possible while maintaining as much muscle as possible while still building on that aesthetic. And, and so that does require a specific kind of eating, a specific kind of training, a specific kind of a schedule. Now,
what led you to that though?
What led me to that?
Yeah, like you competing, but I would love for you to share like a little bit of your story. Like,
okay.
Like, you know, how you grew up and going into your lifestyle from being a dad. I know you're a dad.
Okay.
And also just a little story about yourself, because you did tell me you were adopted.
Right.
And I just find it fascinating because you were adopted with white parents, and when I was younger, I wish I was white, you know, an American. Well, I am an American, but my parents are just hella strict. So that's why I wished I was like in a, you know, different race type of family, you know. But you got adopted by white people, and like they you know, you seem like you're totally well-rounded, and you know you're doing your thing.
Yeah, but I feel like everybody always sees the finished product, but nobody knows who I was 18 years ago, 17 years ago, 16, you know, whatever. And so I let's just get to the cliff notes, right? There's a lot of cliff notes though.
All
right. So I went into foster care at the age of 5, and from there I went into the foster home. I went into foster care. I went into the foster home that I eventually ended up getting adopted from.
Yeah.
But being Asian in a white family presented a lot of identity issues, especially like in the 90s, where you're Asian or you're white and you're black. Like there's so many labels.
Right.
And you know, when I'm constantly being compared, like why are you the yellow person in a white family? It kind of put me in a way to kind of figure out who the fuck I was, you know? And I think one of the things that I've realized, at least now, is that I've been objectified so much from that moment on to, hey, you should be this, you should be that, you should be this. Yeah. But because I'm so used to understanding who I am beyond that objectivity, it's kind of helped me find out who the hell I am and what I really want in my life and how I want to show up. And now obviously that didn't just happen linearly. Right. That happens with experience. So the times that I faced racism, the times I faced being bullied because of that, that is actually what eventually got me into playing sports. And what I fell in love with sports is, regardless of what you look like, regardless of what you were called or whatever, your performance mattered more than anything else, and it superseded more than anything else. Yeah. But with sports led me into working out, right? And working out, eventually just I started loving how it's exactly what I just said with sports, right? You get in, you get out what you put in. There is no, you know, you might have worse genetics than someone else. You might not have this than someone else, but what you have is what you have. Right. And results speak for themselves regardless. And I figured out, like for me, what helped is that the more I worked out, the more I started investing into that just a little bit more. A, I fell in love with the process. B, I started gaining respect. Yeah. And then C, I wasn't the person that was Asian. Like I wasn't whatever, you know. As a kid, you know, you're like, oh, you're Alan. Yeah, he's Asian, but he's not like the regular Asians, right? And in context, I'm saying that because a lot of the labels when it comes to Asian men when we were younger is that we're completely desexualized, completely emasculated. And so when I started developing myself beyond those, you know, that narrative, it really gave me an opportunity to figure out who I was and how that shows up in the world. Wow. You know?
The Alan I used to know had a dad bod. You are totally shredded now. That should be in the D.
All right. So like I said, that took an entire process, right? But the years that it took for me to figure out what that really was a lot of drinking, a lot of being in out of deployment. So I was in the Navy for a while. I was living in Vegas, and like kind of what you said earlier about kind of not really having a foundation. Therefore, that's why I'm drinking, and it's kind of like I'm putting a mask on something. Yeah. I realize that now, And then I think it kind of hit, one of the biggest things that happened for me is in lieu of the whole story of being adopted, being foster, I had actually found my adoption paperwork, my foster paperwork, during COVID, right?
Oh.
Bored as hell, fucking fun, like, oh, this is cool. Like, I remember my mom had given me this box a few months prior, but I didn't open it until then.
Yeah.
And then I found out, like, everything about my story, about my dad, my grandfather, and what was crazy was that...
Your blood parents.
My blood parents, right? And it was more of my blood father. So first found out that he was a degenerate alcoholic and a degenerate gambler, right?
Right.
And here I am drinking to the nine every freaking thing, and I think it's normal,
DNA.
right? And then I, you know me, I used to play poker for a living. That's how I used to do that.
Right.
So it's not exactly in the sense of being a gambler, but as you can imagine, it parallels a lot of the same kind of responsibilities, like managing a bankroll.
Yeah.
And I could definitely tell you at the time I wasn't managing my finances right. I was telling myself I was, but I wasn't.
So you're better now.
Oh yeah. Phenomenally better, right? And then the last but not least was my dad was a huge like womanizer. He had I was one of like 7 brothers and sisters.
How old were you when you got adopted?
When I got adopted, so I was adopted when I was 10, but went into foster care when I was 5.
Oh, wow.
So I technically was in the system since I was 5.
Oh, okay.
But I was very fortunate enough to be with just the one family. You know, because the average foster kid goes through 3 to 4 different families, and on top of that, when foster kids get into the system at between the ages of 5 to like teens, they're very, very, very rarely are they adopted because a lot of people want kids from the beginning. You know, they kind of
they're younger.
Right. They approach it kind of like adopting pets, and I'm not trying to throw shade on it. It's just the reality of the situation.
Right.
And so, you know, when I got all this, like, you know, stuff from my dad, I started figuring this out. Then I finally started finding my family, and I got contact with my cousin, who then told me about my grandfather. Same thing, womanizer, had multiple wives, had a bunch of different kids, alcoholic, degenerate, and I felt like it was a moment for me at that moment where.
Wait, so were you a womanizer?
I wouldn't say I'm a womanizer, right?
Past tense.
I would say that I've definitely,
Had your fun?
I had to say have my fun, but it's I don't want to say it like that because I feel, I don't know, I feel there's too much objectivity in relationships now. I feel like, oh yeah, you're now the new code is rizzing or whatever the fuck when you're spitting game.
Rizzing?
Yeah, rizzing. So I found this out from my kids.
Rizzing?
Rizzing is like so you know how like you go up to
what
a girl.
What is rizzing?
Hold up, real quick. Look, this is how I know it, right? This is how you know we're old, like whatever, right? So you remember how you'd go to a girl and you'd spit game? Like, oh hey girl, what's your number? You start talking. Right. That's now called Riz.
Oh.
But the reason why I don't like that though is because we're objectifying interactions way too much.
Right.
And people are getting way too scared to be vulnerable because of it. Like, oh, I got Riz. It makes you feel like you're whatever. But if a guy really attracted your attention and spoke to you nicely, like you should take that as a compliment, not as something that you got Riz. Like,
oh my god,
you know,
I want to look it up in an Urban Dictionary.
But so to go with what I was saying, I've had my fair share of interactions with people, and it was never at any point to objectify any of those interactions or whether I met those specific people, I was drunk, whether I was specific, whatever. Like I connected, and I don't have any regrets. It's just I now want something a little bit more, or the things that meaningful, right? I think when you've had enough of those kind of like loose contacts about certain things, like man, something's. Like I would say missing, but there, you know, definitely at this point.
So you are single?
Yes. Stereotypically speaking, yes.
Ladies, he's single. Wait, show off your abs.
No.
Why not?
No.
Yes. Like
not anymore.
No, what do you mean?
No. So I competed about a month ago. No. So I competed about a month ago, and I've definitely gained like 10, 12 pounds since that competition.
That's good.
Oh no, I agree.
You still look shredded to me.
No, right. But I mean, I just I'm more than
I don't think you're bloated
just
right now.
I don't think you're bloated. Prove it. Prove it. Prove it. You won't prove that you're bloated right now.
I'm bloated. I'm eating bread right now. In case you guys are curious, I actually get ShiftEQ bread. It's all organic ShiftEQ bread. This is actually flourless. So it's made with like wheat, barley, beans, lentils, millet, spelt. So this digests slower in your system, so it doesn't turn into sugar. So it's more gentle on your gut health. So I like
Ezekiel would be.
So I just wanted some carbs to eat with my soup, even though it's kind of boring, but it's good. It's good for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I made this yesterday, so it's good. Well, he won't show the abs, ladies.
I won't. You gotta slide in my DMs for that one.
Yes, follow him so you can see the before and after picture.
Yeah, I'm just setting up for my OnlyFans, guys. That's it. So just I can't be giving out the goods right now.
That is so funny. Yeah. Wow. We have grown a lot, and it's really nice to still stay connected with you and connect through those spaces. Like I've seen, even us both in Vegas, we were just drinking and partying and just having a great time. And now we feel like we have a mission, we have a purpose in life. We want to share value and inspiration to the world. And him through his competition and your podcast.
Yeah.
I'm just starting this mukbang video. Eating healthier food is not a traditional mukbang, but I like to connect with people through eating. And it's my way of going out nowadays. Like when I go out to eat at restaurants, I love to, hang out at restaurants and eat good food because I am a foodie. Would you say you're a foodie?
Yes, 1,000%. 1,000% right.
You like to try new things.
Well, and you have to be creative, like with competitions, it can get very bland. You have to be very specific, and you can't go too loose with the calories or anything else. Mm-hmm. So it kind of forces you to learn how to preserve and conserve calories.
Right. And you weigh it out. You weigh your food out, right?
During a prep. But after, when you weigh out enough, you can visualize how much the correct portion sizes should be.
Okay. So how many times do you eat a day when you compete?
So when I compete, in general, it's just compete or not compete, I eat pretty much the same. So I eat before I work out, right after I work out, and then I eat 3 regular meals during the day. And what those meals are usually consist of is a lot of protein for sure, a lot of lean proteins. So that's either chicken, beef, however that is, and then I oscillate carbs based on how I'm feeling. Like, so for example, I had I talked about the crumble cookies that I had last night, right?
Oh my god, I hear they're horrible for you because of the ingredients.
Yeah. Look, if they were so bad, then why do they taste so damn good?
That's why. Yeah, some things are just
delicious. All right. So anyways, fucking delicious. That's exactly what they are. How dare you?
I've never had it. I've never had it before.
Well, I have, and I love amazing. But I knew I was gonna eat those. So 2 things kind of happened. I had leg day yesterday, and leg day, when I work out legs, it exhausts a shit ton of calories. And so therefore, usually what I allow myself to do is have a little bit more calories. Another thing is, because I know how many carbs I should be having during the day, that I told you I'll oscillate the carbs later on.
Right.
I purposely didn't eat carbs in the first 2 of those meals that I talked about, and then the third meal is when I had those cookies along with, in lieu of the protein.
So you kind of like carb load, right?
I guess carb load, that would be the best way.
Yeah.
That would be the best way.
That's interesting because for people who want to release, what advice or what would you tell people for the people that want to release weight?
Release weight.
Yeah, it's a lot to do with diet, right? It's like I feel like it's 80% diet and 20% workout.
I think
there are people out there that are not competing like you are.
Sure.
So, what would you advise them?
Okay, so I would say regardless of the percentages, it's 100% lifestyle, right? Regardless of anything.
Yes, I agree.
So if there's anything that's like congruent and parallel with every single person that does have like a physique, or they do have a certain kind of a result and they're not stressed about it, is because they do a couple of things. First, they eat well, they work out well, they do those things consistently, And then I think they invest into themselves mentally, emotionally, keep checking in, right? Because you have results, just because you physically look like something doesn't mean that you actually are healthy, right? And so, and the reason why I'm saying that is, for example, so body dysmorphia, right? Or we're all aware of body dysmorphia, right?
Yeah.
So body dysmorphia,
it's a thing.
right? How would you describe it? I guess for you.
I have an acquainted girlfriend that has body dysmorphia.
Okay.
And she's gorgeous, and I don't think she's fat or anything like that at all. But she has, like, she thinks she looks big, and she thinks that she's not beautiful. Or I'm like, oh my god, this girl's crazy. She's gorgeous, like literally, she's gorgeous, you know. And that's body dysmorphia, right? Because they think they look bigger, and when they're not really big.
And it's all variations of it, right? It could be you think you look bigger. It could be you look like you're smaller. It could be you don't think you're shredded, right? And so in the in the average population, that's about anywhere between like 10 to 20%, right? It varies on what study you look at.
Yeah.
In the professional bodybuilding world, it's over 50%.
Oh wow.
So think about it, right? Kind of what you just alluded to and how you depicted your friend. A lot of the same concept is said about bodybuilders. Like they have this elite physique. They have this. What could be wrong with whatever, right? And so that's why the mental and the emotional part is really important, because you got to keep checking back in with yourself. Why the hell do I want this result? Why am I going after these things? Is it really worth it? You know, and that's where a lot of people in the bodybuilding world does. Now, mind you, for me, right? Like I just told you, I just gained 12 pounds from show. I don't exactly feel the best about my body, right? Even though I know I have an exceptional physique, it's my own way of dealing with my current body dysmorphia, you know. And you have to think about, from our perspective, I spent in like a greater portion of the year literally dialing down body fat, dialing this, dialing that.
Right.
Now that I'm a month from show, I don't have those goals anymore. I'm not constricting myself anymore. I'm like, so now in the last 12 weeks of the competition, it took me that long to shed off like 5, 6, 7 pounds, right? And I went from I remember I started at like 9 something percent in like February, and by the time I stepped up on stage in May, I was at like 5% something for body fat. But imagine, but now I gained 12 pounds since that. My body fat percentage has probably doubled. Yeah. And so, from the objective eye, it's like, oh, you have nothing to worry about. But subjectively, because I'm used to seeing different variations of myself, it's like, no, I'm not taking my shirt off, you know? Look at, it's not that I don't mind it, right? It's just perspective.
I was really impressed when you were starting your journey, and I was, following you on your Instagram. I saw your photos from dad bod to you getting shredded. I was like, wow, you're putting in the work. That's pretty impressive. I was like, I'm inspired by you, because I want a 6-pack. I have I think a 1-pack or 2-pack. I have the upper core, but the bottom is like, okay, I love to eat. So unless I'm doing my cleanse, when I do my nutrition cleanse and gut cleanse, my belly just flattens out so much. And I would say I'm a pretty active chick. I love to go hiking. I'm a yoga teacher, so I teach yoga often. I move through with my students half of the class, and I love dancing, so I dance a lot.
And the booty yoga. Booty yoga.
Booty yoga. Yeah, I do have a beach event coming up July 15th.
Booty.
So you should come. July 15th, there's booty yoga.
There's a lot of booty out there, then maybe.
So there you go. There you go. He's single.
This conversation, it just erased everything I said earlier, but it completely did. Oh, so Alan's one of those.
Yes. Ladies. Oh my God. Show your abs. No kidding.
Hey, I mean, I
don't want to objectify you, okay?
I love them. I don't objectify them. I love every single one of them. There's so many beautiful women out there.
And women objectify men too.
Right. Like, you're not this, you're not that, you're not this. Like, shit, we do the same thing. It just, we get it.
Regardless, in the end, we should love our bodies no matter what. And no matter what size you are. Self-love is a huge thing. Yeah. I mean, I've learned to self-love throughout my whole healing journey, getting to where I am right now, really, teaching myself how to step into my power and my growth. And I've been doing a great job at it too. Would you say that you went through the camera cut off? So we were touching on self-love. Journey of self-love. Our journey of self-love.
Journey.
How do we self-love?
How do we self-love? I guess visualize a higher version of ourselves and start showing up as that higher version, I think.
Yeah, what does that look like though?
What does that look like? That's a good question. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you lead that one first. Let's see what you're looking for, and then I'll piggyback.
Well, all the tools, right? So tools that we have to take care of ourselves mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually as well, because when we go on a path of self-love, how can we grow and really, really love ourselves and not negative talk ourselves, right? How can you take care of yourself through doing the work, right? So I would say, mentally, some people may have mental issues. How can you take care of yourself in that space? Meditation, therapy, coaches, things like that. Or like going to the spa, taking care of yourself. Or if you're like somebody who works a lot, and you're like there's different types of people in this world. There's people who are go, and they don't take care of themselves, really. They're working all the time. But they're leaning towards that lane. There's so many scenarios. I mean, physically, we're working out, taking care of our bodies, right? Not just for the physical aspect of like how you look, but how you feel.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And spiritually as well, I think being spiritually conscious is very important. Not some people are atheists, I get that, but I'm a very spiritual person, and I do believe having spirit guides, and our guides are there to protect us, and like we get to talk to them. People are starting to ascend and be more clear channels to connect to the spirit realm. And there are higher powers, there's God, there's a higher source, whether you can call it the universe or whatever it is you call your God. We get to connect to those sources to really empower us to grow and elevate that higher frequency.
Definitely,
right?
Definitely.
So what would you say? I was asking about your journey of your self-love growth.
Well, yeah, I was curious of where you were going with that. But no, I agree. One of the things that's really stuck out to me is have you ever heard of the Maslow's hierarchy of self? So it's
Maslow's?
Maslow, Maslow. So
Maslow.
So what he has this pyramid where all the different layers are about the things that you got to do to take care of yourself. So it's like your shelter, your food, your physical health, and then as soon as you have all these things, that's when transcendence happens. That's when you go to another version or a higher version. So for a lot of those pyramids, a lot of things that are congruent, I think, are what you said: eating better, working out consistently. I think those things are very congruent with one another. I like what you said about how physical working out or what is not just about like the vanity aspect of it. But the vanity is something that just benefits off of taking care of these things. And I mean, it's been proven that working out is better for your mental health than it is to see a psychiatrist. A lot of what you're saying, because it helps you control your emotions, it helps you exhaust your emotions sometimes.
Do yoga.
or hit something really hard, right? Or lift something really hard. Put your body
like a punching bag, you mean?
anything.
Right.
I think that what that exhaustion of that emotion is different for everybody. Just figure out what that is for yourself and use it to your benefit, in my opinion. I think that, and also constantly aspiring to be a better version. I think Matthew McConaughey said it pretty clearly, where he talks about his hero is a 10-year version of himself in the future.
Oh yeah.
And he constantly checks in with that person. And if there's one thing that's really worked for me, is visualizing where I perceivably want to be 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, 30 years from now, and then using that person as a guide to mentor myself in the current.
Wait, can you say that again? The Matthew McConaughey said about him 10 years later?
Yeah, so they asked him about who his hero was.
Yes, the hero.
His hero. And then he said his hero is himself 10 years in the future. and he constantly checks in on that person. I'm rewording this in the way I interpreted it, by the way. And what's worked for me is I constantly check in with that version and saying like, all right,
your higher self, kind of, yeah.
And then what am I doing right now? Are the actions I'm doing being congruent with that person? And then the more I a lot of things happened in my life recently. Like I almost lost my dad to cancer. I lost my grandmother recently. And it just kind of made me accept that life is, completely, it's always in transit in some dynamic, and like the one constant about life is change, right? And that's
absolutely. And I lost a girlfriend yesterday through breast cancer, Marissa.
Right. And so now for me, what I visualized is kind of what we're talking about, like this higher understanding of how things kind of overlay. And me as a man with my daughters, my family, I'm the one that's taking care of everybody. So what do I visualize that to be 10 years from now? And I think when I started really becoming clear with who I wanted to show up as and how I wanted to show up, it kind of then it's like, wait, I have no time for drinking. I have no time for eating this kind of cinnamon rolls. I have no time for this. Right?
You are dead.
Right.
You have 2 daughters?
I have 2.
Wow.
I have two, yeah.
That's amazing. I'm pretty sure when you had your kids, it really helped you like step up your game even more so, right?
Initially no.
Really?
Initially no. Well, I had my first daughter when I was 19, and I mean I was growing up trying to figure out what the fuck that even meant. It wasn't until definitely I'd say in the last like 5, 6, 7 years I started realizing the impact I really have as a dad into my daughter's life, and that made me start changing a lot of different things.
Right. Wow.
And it's like I'm really grateful that those things happened, because otherwise I wouldn't be showing up as a person I am now. I didn't have them for those things that happened in the interim, so to speak.
Wow. Well, I think you're amazing, you
Thank
know,
you.
and you're very inspiring when it comes to your physique and, where your growth is, along with your podcast and everything. Any last word, any inspiring things that you want to share with the audience?
Let's see. What do I want to share? Right. One of my favorite quotes that still inspires me to this day is the quote that says, "Prove it to yourself at least once." Right.
Wow.
And so whatever that is for you, whatever that is that you really fucking want in your life, whatever, I don't know. I don't know what that is. But
your dreams,
your aspirations, some accolade of it.
Bucket list, something.
Go after it. Just go the fuck after it. Like.
Your passion.
Find something what it is, and mind you don't have to figure it all that is right now, right? Like my journey into competition started from me just wanting to get abs, right? But then when I pursued that,
oh really? That's why you competed?
Because that's what I told myself, right? But in that finding out what it took for me to get there. I realized I wanted to eat better. Then I realized I wanted to keep a better schedule. Then it was I wanted to just hold myself accountable. Then it was I actually wanted just respect for who the hell I showed up as. Right. So it masked itself, and it started as telling myself I wanted abs. But the more I tried to figure out what that really meant, then it was like, oh, it wasn't about the abs. It was everything that I laced into the story of having abs. But it wasn't until I proved it to myself that at least once that I got it, and forgot all the intrinsics that got me to get there. And then it's like, but now it's like, all right, prove it to myself at least once, and another thing, and another aspect, and another, and it's just.
So what's your next thing then?
Next thing. So right now, the next big thing is this brand, this podcast, this whole 9 yards. I recently commentated for a natural bodybuilding show. And I see so much potential in the growth of it just because you hear all the stories, For me, it was overcoming drinking, overcoming all my partying, the whole 9 yards that got me on a stage, helped me break through that. I've heard other drug stories, other people with bad breakups or anything, and bodybuilding has helped them get to that. My goal is to show people how to prove it to themselves at least once, to sign up for one competition, show them the benefits of not exactly getting up on stage to being ripped, but seeing what the process of eating better, working out better, investing into yourself, and aspiring to a higher version of yourself, what that does for you. And it just, happens, in my opinion, all that encompasses by signing up for a competition. So what I've been doing now is to promote people into natural bodybuilding and to compete once. And that, obviously you got to make those results subjective, and in that journey you start figuring out what things really matter for you. But and I'll tell you, it's the most beneficial thing that has changed my life, and change a lot of other people's, that's for sure.
Wow. Man, competing is a commitment. That's what it is. Maybe I'm just, it's the commitment part.
Well, that's the thing is, right? So, and here's what the beauty about competition is. When you work with the coach and they give you these plans, like, hey, you got to eat like this, work out like this, you have a very solidified plan on how to execute this result, right? And it's interesting in that process.
Right, it's like accountability in a way, right?
Right, but then you start figuring out really quickly in that process how you're not only your deficiencies, but the challenges of what it takes to keep those consistencies.
Do you have a coach?
I do. I always have a coach.
Okay.
I just stopped working with one right now because I'm in my off season, so I'm not on any kind of a plan. But what I was getting to that is like when you start having this plan, like I feel like a lot of ourselves, we know what we need to do in order for us to get to the next version, right? And how we don't. And it's amazing on how when you sign up for a competition and some of the failures and some of the excuses you give to not hold on to that plan is also a reflection of how we handle ourselves and a lot of our aspirations in our lives or a lot of things that we aspire to. And what I found is that people that are able to realize the parallels of going after a competition, realize that the parallels, the behaviors that they hold themselves from, and you started overcoming that. Then it's like, holy shit, you had this mindset of I've overcome my own bullshit. Then it's like, how can I apply this to anywhere else?
Wow, I do that when I'm cleansing my gut for 30 days. And I'll eat super, super clean and super, super organic. And I know, I love everything you said, all those 5 things. But I know we've debated over this before. Eating healthy doesn't mean you're always eating healthy in my eyes, in my perception, right? Because, you know, I am a health coach and I educate people about gut health. And I always encourage people to try to go more organic to the best of their abilities. I know we can't really go 100% organic all the time living in the city. We don't grow our own food. But, you know, organic I feel like is very, very important because of the pesticides and all the crap and chemicals that is in our food because it kills the microbiome in your gut. But you're so physically like fit and like you feel good, you feel healthy, you're working out all the time. Like you seem like you're pretty good. You don't like break out. You don't seem like you have any gut issues. But I do always encourage you to eat organic whenever you can because I always tell you about that pesticides called glyphosate. It's also known as Roundup, and it's sprayed into a lot of our foods. Oh my God! By the way, this is our normal conversations. So me and Janet, this is exactly what we do. We have great conversations about health. We get to the 1 hour mark, and she's like, "Let me tell you about this little fucking thing and this food that kills you." And I'm like, "All right, Janet, have a good one." Hang up, and I'm like, "I'm done talking." How rude. That's exactly what happens. How rude. Here's the thing, guys. Right? It's not that I disagree with it. Right? So one of the common things that I find as a detriment is people try to be a version of something else instead of being the best version of who they currently are. Right. So yes, I agree that eating lean meats, lean everything, complex carbohydrates, organic things. Where are your meats coming from? I don't disagree with that. But now let's say you take the average American who eats nothing but processed fucking shit, right? Yes, we could talk about the biology of how bad that does for you, but there's also an emotional and mental side that comes with eating like that, all the everything else. So yes, if you, and I would say 100%, if you're to take that 100% processed food, turn them into 100% organic, he would be better overall. But, right, like we said, the third most important thing about those things is consistency. And you got to accommodate the fact that you're a human being. If you're already programmed and your behaviors and your mindset is eating processed food 24/7, going to 100% organic and eating like a bodybuilder is not going to fucking work because you're going to lose your goddamn mind, right? It's not going to fucking work. So I understand. Make the changes that you can at the time. If it's you drink regular sodas, then you're drinking every once in a while you drink a diet soda instead. Let's say instead of having fried chicken, you have like baked chicken instead. It's making those small subtle changes. Absolutely. I drink a shit ton of diet sodas. A shit
ton on prep, on everything,
my God, really?
the whole 9 yards. So
Yeah,
this glorified 8-pack that Janet is powered by diet sodas.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry, I'm in an energy because she tried to bitch me out about this before we started recording. No, she did.
No.
He did. Like it's like opening up a Snapple fact and reading a fact that I didn't want to read, but it's being screamed at me. Exactly like, did you know the shit that you're like? Yes, Janet. I'm like,
Well, I'm just reminding you.
No, it comes from love, but I'm just like,
it does come from love.
It does, but sometimes I don't want that love.
You want to hear it?
I don't want it.
He doesn't want to hear it. But sodas can give people osteoporosis. You know, it can deteriorate your bone. Like,
and it can give you a lot of happiness sometimes, right?
In the moment, as long as you don't do too much.
Well, and
no excessive things around that.
Well, think about it too, right? I'm not very far off from being the processed flavor kind of a food person, right? And so I do love drinking soda because I drank a lot of those as a kid. Yeah. And so when I'm on an astringent diet plan, like some of the things you try to find ways to accommodate the calories, and drinking zero calorie like sodas. Yeah, I drank like 2 or 3 a day.
Are they sweet?
They're sweet to me, right?
Yeah.
Sweet to based off of that. Oh, and that's another thing. When you start eating more and more like just regular food, natural foods start tasting sweeter, right? Like raspberries and blueberries.
They say it tricks your mind, like the diet sodas from those artificial sweeteners. It tricks your mind thinking it's sweet, but the chemical reaction is like it's really not sweet. So
I think look at
eat fruits.
Oh yeah,
fruits, right?
I ate fruits, especially with it's part of my post-workout meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Wow. Lots to learn here.
Yeah, a lot to.
It
got me going on this finally. Now that I ate, I'm like, cool, I'm awake now, guys. I came into this hungry as shit. Like I started. God, I should have ate 2 hours before this.
We always debate about this. It's hilarious, actually. It's very funny.
This is. Just stop recording. We'll continue this conversation. Like we probably will.
I know. Well, the whole point, guys, is really to prevent diseases in the future. It's long term. You know, as long as you don't drink too much soda and eat processed food and artificial stuff, because those things can cause cancer and ruin the microbiome in your gut. So we want to try to just take care of our bodies, take care of ourselves, and just take care of our hearts, take care of our minds, and just really be gentle. I would say be gentle with yourself, right? Sometimes people they're not gentle with themselves. They self-sabotage. You know, they're not conscious in what they're eating and what they're doing sometimes, and then they beat themselves up later. Yeah. But just embrace everything you do, basically.
Right. Well, yeah, and accept that. That's part of who we are. You know.
Right. We're humans.
We're humans, right? We're gravitate.
I'm not perfect either, guys. Trust me.
We gravitate towards finding problems.
I love my desserts.
Oh yeah.
I love my desserts. I like to find the healthier stuff, but still I love to eat my ice cream, vegan ice cream, it's still sugar, right? So just being conscious of not overdoing it. Especially if you have a goal you want to reach.
Man, yeah. A little more sweets now. I wish I had a donut right now, just like eating it.
That'd be funny. Oh my god, that would probably be a traditional mukbang. You can imagine a bunch of donuts here.
Oh my god.
And we're just hoovering all the donuts. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, do not mention that one.
But you're not beating up yourself over that 10 pounds, right?
I'm just not trying to show off my abs right now.
Damn it.
Slide up in the DM
if you want. Abs. Slide up in the DM.
You gotta earn those abs, goddammit. You gotta earn them.
Well, alright, I think that's good. I finished my bowl of soup. He's still eating. But yeah, anything else you want to share?
Damn, I don't know. We said more. And then one last thing. The rest of the podcast. So.
Seriously. It's okay. That's how it goes sometimes, and it's totally okay.
Just tune into the podcast, guys. ShiftEQ on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. And I don't know. No ad pictures.
No ad pictures.
It's on the Instagram, alank.l, if you really want to see them.
You guys will see him from dead butt to 8-pack. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe. More to come. And I'd love to have you back.
More than happy to.
There's so much to touch on and talk about.
Next time we'll eat sweets the whole time.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. Just sweets and sodas. Sweets and diet sodas. Sweets and diet sodas.
I actually have not drank soda in years. I love sparkling waters. Don't get me wrong. I love my bubbles.
I just want to do it just because of all the shit that you do.
How rude. He's that, what is that?
Like, a troll? Yeah, 100%. 100%.
You're that kid that wants to irk you purposely because you said something.
I'll do that.
And you do the opposite. He's that person that does the opposite thing.
I'll do that. I'll lean down
purposely.
As far as possible, then just with the abs, just like, oh, here's this diet soda.
Showing off his
and then eating donuts.
Oh my god, that's
no, that's such a tool bag thing to do.
How mean. Yeah, he just called himself a tool bag.
I'm not doing that would be a tool bag thing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, yeah, that kind of.
You're that. Do you used to do that when you were a kid? When you were younger, you would be that person if your mom tells you what to do, and you'll do the opposite.
Yeah. It's I think we're all intrinsically sinister in some dynamic, but don't do it. Okay. Okay.
That's funny. Well, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this mukbang. More to come. And
hope you enjoy your diet sodas.
Love and peace, y'all. Sending y'all lots of love and light.
I'm still eating.
We did it. High five.
I'm still eating. You're good. I'm like,
that's hilarious. That was good.